How is it if you have to live your life out of someone else's choices? The inner feeling that a woman goes through during her life after a marriage. They are not affected by the presence of men. Aunt Jennifer feels that she will attain freedom only after her death. She appreciates the exotic animal, the dignity and the braveness of the tigers. Hello students and welcome to Prep School English classes. Today's topic, Poem 6 from your Flamingo textbook, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. How is it when someone dominates you? How is it when you have to live a life in fear of someone? And how is it if you have to live your life out of someone else's choices? And then that someone becomes your part of living. You're hooked to that someone during your journey of life. You cannot voice out. You can't express your emotions. You cannot do what you feel like. What will you do then? In such instances, we try to bring out our emotions. We try to express ourselves in the form of hobbies or in the form of art. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers is one such poem. So let's look at what is the poem all about. I will be discussing in today's class the author, poetic device, what is the theme, what are the messages, and what are the related questions, and also line-to-line explanation as a summary. So we will be doing the author, poetic device, theme, the message, followed by the conclusion, question and answers, and a short explanation of what is the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tiger all about. The author, Adrienne Rich, she is an American poet, an essayist, and a feminist too. So she is involved in contemporary writings, in contemporary women's movement. She is involved in contemporary women's movement and resistance against racism. So this American poet in this poem tells us about the inner feeling that a woman goes through during her life after a marriage. The submissiveness of her husband's command, the fear of her husband, the dominance that her husband has on her, and she is blocked by a vibrant life. So let's have an overview of what is the poem. When I tell you all Aunt Jennifer's Tiger, the title, what does it tell us? Aunt Jennifer is a woman and she is talking about something related to tigers. Now, it's very unusual that we cannot believe Aunt Jennifer has got lots of tigers, isn't it? But she has got something to do with tiger, the majestic animal, the bravery in this animal, and the care not, the fearless tiger is what she is trying to contrast her life, which is in fear. So, to look at the title, it says that wild, exotic. The tiger is wild and exotic. It's a powerful animal. It's very, very powerful. And this is the contrast to what she is. So what does she do? She embroiders this tiger in a cloth to make a frame. Why does she do it? Because she lives in fear and she wants to express her emotion through the bravery of the tiger. So the title says that Aunt Jennifer contrasts herself to the exotic, powerful tiger. So that being the title, let's look at what is the message. Read this. Power of patriarchy. What is patriarchy? It's a man-dominated world. What's patriarchy? man has control over everything. In the same way, matriarchy means a woman has a control over everything. So the power of patriarchy controls a woman's body. Earth is with innumerable natural objects that are filled with beauty. When you look at the earth, there are innumerable objects. There are vast objects which is filled with beauty. Now, such beautiful objects removes the misery, the sorrows, the suffering and the sadness from an individual. Here we understand that Aunt Jennifer is going through some sadness. She has an inner suffering. She is fearing someone. So how does she come out of that? She looks at the tigers as the most beautiful objects or the living creature of the universe. So she derives lot of pleasure out of it. She is able to express her emotion thinking of the tiger. So that being the message. Now going to the tone of the poem. The tone of the poem, it's a free verse poem, but it's very positive in the sense Aunt Jennifer, though she has a lot of sadness in her, though she is living a fearful life, but she is very positive in the way she looks at things. So she is very positive. It is a contrast. You see cheerfulness and you see sadness too. So the tone of the poem is positive, cheerful along with sadness, and it is a free verse poem. Moving forward, what is the theme? The theme is all about women, the way they are abused at times, and then feminism. So the theme is women, feminism and abuse, the immorality, the way a woman is treated and she is not getting what she actually has to get. There is inequality and then she is treated in a very dominant kind of behavior by a partner. So that immorality, fear and fearlessness. The fear and being fearless, both are there in the theme. She is very fearful, but she shows that she is not fearing. The family intimacy. She is actually married to a man. So that family intimacy, that bonding always is there for a woman. And then she brings it through the power of art. So what is that? The positiveness that she has? She has a power of art which helps her to live and move forward in her life. So that being the theme, let's move forward to understand what are the poetic devices. I think with all the poems that I have touched, this being the last poem of your syllabus, I am sure you're very much familiar with the poetic devices. To repeat, they are the essential tools that the poet uses to make the poem very appealing. So what are the poetic devices in this poem? You see alliteration, metaphor, you see the rhyme scheme and you see anaphora. So all these has been explained to you earlier. So what are the poetic devices in the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tiger? Remember, rhyme scheme, alliteration, metaphor and anaphora. So let's look at the first poetic device. When I say alliteration, by now you're very familiar that repetition of same consonant sounds in the beginning words is alliteration, isn't it? So what is the example? Black, bug, big, bit, black, bear. So all the B sounds here. That's why it's called as an alliteration. Moving forward, anaphora. What is anaphora? Repeated words in two consequent lines. In the poem, if it has 4 lines, 2 lines, there is some repetition of words. So that is anaphora. For example, every day, every night, in every way. That is an example. The next one is the rhyme scheme. Very, very simple. Repetition of similar sounds at the end of every line in the poem. Example, I told you all the rhyme for one could be bun, sun, run, ton, one, etc. The last one is metaphor. What's a metaphor? It's a direct comparison of two things, between two things, people or object. When you compare directly between anything, two people or object or thing, that is metaphor. I had explained earlier, you are my sunshine, wherein you are directly compared to the sun or to the sunshine. So that is metaphor. So, in the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tiger, you will see metaphor, which is a direct comparison. You see rhyme scheme, wherein similar sounds are rhyming at the end of the sentence. You see anaphora, wherein repeated words in consequent two lines, and you see alliteration, repetition of the same consonant sound. So those were the poetic devices of the poem. Moving forward, let's look at what is the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tiger all about. Now I told you, when I say Aunt Jennifer, the poet is talking about a woman. Who is she? She is Jennifer. And she's called Aunt Jennifer because she is married and she lives with her husband, who is mentioned as uncle in the poem. And then when I say tigers, that doesn't mean to say that she is having a lot of tigers in her home. No, she talks about the beauty of the tiger, the freedom and the dignity this exotic animal carries. So very fearless. It does not fear any man. That is what she likes about the animal. So have a look at the poem. It's a very short and a very sweet poem. It's into 3 paras, stanza 1, 2 and 3. And I have told you all, any question that comes on poetic device from this poem, please don't miss out. It's very simple, the rhyme scheme. Screen, green, tree, certainty, wool, pull, band, hand, lie, by, made and afraid. So it's very simple for you to pick out this rhyme scheme as a poetic device. Now, what is the poem all about? In the first stanza, she talks about her needlework, comparing or contrasting herself to the tiger. In the second stanza, she talks about her fearful or depressed or disgusting marriage life where she is living in fear with her husband. So she talks about the freedom and the dignity of the animal and what is the contrast that she has when she looks at the tiger. And in the last stanza, she says that even after her death, her ordeals will not go away. She feels that she will be carrying that fear even after the death. But whatever she has embroidered in that cloth remains as a brave thing. That is what she means in this poem. So that being said, moving forward, let's go line by line to understand the poem. I will be off screen. Dear children, you have to have your attention to the screen, understand the explanation, hear out my voice, and then make a note of it in your textbook too. So please have a look at the screen now. Let's look at stanza 1. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Prance here means jump. Topaz is a bright color. It's a bright yellow color. Denizens means person, animal or thing. It's kind of citizens. Sleek means elegant. Chivalric means noble man or brave man. The poet here is talking about a lady whom she addresses as Aunt Jennifer. She is doing embroidery in a piece of cloth. The cloth could be a tablecloth or wall hanging. The pattern shows tigers who are moving and jumping around all over the fabric. She has designed it with beautiful tigers which are running fearlessly in the green forest. Their beauty is described by comparing them with a precious yellow stone known as topaz. They appear bright yellow in the green backdrop of the forest. They are proud and fearless citizens of the forest. They are not affected by the presence of men. Here we can sense the contrast of behavior between the tigers and ant. Though the tigers designed by her are fearless, she herself is afraid of her husband. The tigers look elegant, shining, and full of gentleman's face. Moving forward to the poetic devices in stanza 1, the first one being rhyme scheme. Screen, green, tree, certainty. The next one, anaphora. They do not, they hasten. You see, words are repeated in two consequent lines. And the next one, metaphor. Bright topaz. It's compared to a bright yellow color. So, you see three poetic devices in stanza 1. Rhyme scheme, anaphora and metaphor. Moving forward to stanza 2. Aunt Jennifer's finger fluttering through her wool. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Fluttering here means trembling movement, shivering movement. Ivory is a cream white substance in the tusk of elephants. Massive means huge or big or large. The poet in this stanza describes the fear of Aunt Jennifer towards her husband. This is evident when it says that her fingers are trembling while doing embroidery, and that's being she fears her husband. Her husband does not approve her hobby of embroidery. Thus, she fears him. It becomes difficult for her to pull the needle up and down. She describes the wedding ring, which was given by uncle on her wedding day, is heavy to her. That's because she does not consider it as a beautiful gift, and it seems heavy for her due to the torture she has gone through in her married life. It's described as a heavy band on her trembling fingers. This means the ring is associated with some bad experiences in the form of torture she has faced because of her husband's dominating behavior. Moving forward to see the poetic devices in stanza 2, the first one being rhyme scheme, wool, pull, band, hand, and the second one alliteration, finger fluttering. You see the repetition of consonant sound. Moving forward to stanza 3, when aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Terrified here means she is frightened, the scared feeling. Ordeals means unpleasant or the prolonged experience. Panel means a flat board or a frame. The poet explains her wish to live a free, fearless life, which is indicated by her choice of design, the tigers. This can be easily sensed. Further, the poet says that it is not possible for Aunt to achieve this freedom during her lifetime. The design shows her innermost desire of being strong, fearless, and which has been overpowered by her husband. Aunt Jennifer feels that she will attain freedom only after her death. But the irony of her life is that even after her death, she is tied up with shackles. Her husband's rule over her is not over, as the ring shall remain on her hand. The ring was the sole proof of the tortures which she had faced from her husband. On the other hand, the tigers designed by Aunt Jennifer will always depict her desire of living a fearless life by jumping proudly and bravely on a piece of cloth. Moving forward to the poetic device, alliteration, prancing, proud. You see the repetition of consonant sounds, and then rhyme scheme, lie, by, made, unafraid. So that was a summary of the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tiger, line to line explanation, words in context, and the poetic devices. So let me show you a reference, a piece of an embroidery work. Have a look at this. This is a tiger embroidered on a piece of cloth which has been framed to be ready to hang on a wall. So Aunt Jennifer has done a work similar to this, where she brings out her emotion, she brings out her inner feeling, she brings out the fear that she is going through. She depicts the tortured life, her married life, which was so disturbing with a dominant husband, whom she would fear the most. So, to bring out that fear in her, she has depicted the tiger whom she thinks is very dignified, very exotic, and very brave, who would not fear a man. So she says that even after her death, the ordeal remains. The band, the wedding band, what is in her hand, that continues. So she says, even after her death, the fear will continue. But during her lifetime, she has made it a kind of vibrant and colorful by putting all her thoughts and expressions and emotions in a piece of embroidery work. So that being a kind of reference to you, let's move forward to understand what is the conclusion of the poem. The poem speaks about the conflict in woman, especially between the feeling of freedom and imagination. Between her freedom and imagination, what is the conflict that the woman goes through? And then every woman should have the power to lead a vibrant life. Women should have a power to lead a vibrant life. So that being the conclusion, let's move forward to the questions expected from this poem. You all must be familiar with the type 1 questions, that is extract base. Once again, a stanza is taken and you are questioned out of this stanza. So look at the 1 marked questions. How are the tigers described? And then, why are they called the denizens of the world of green? Why are they called the denizens of a world of green? And then, why are they not afraid of man? So you can pick out the answers from here and then you will be marked 1 mark for each question. The next one being your 2 mark question, which are the short answers which you will write for 40 to 50 words. What will happen to Aunt Jennifer's tiger when she is dead? What's going to happen after Aunt Jennifer dies? What will happen to her tiger which she is embroidered? How did she create a tigers? And then why are her hands fluttering or shaking through her wool when she is pulling the needle and the thread? Why are her hands fluttering? And the last question, how do denizens and chivalric add to our understanding of the tiger's attitude? So these are few. You can get to see more. You can frame questions on your own as you read the poem. So that being the questions, what is that you need to do? From your textbook, you please read the poem once or twice, line by line, understand and get connected to what was explained in the class today. That's it for today. To conclude, I think Aunt Jennifer's Tiger is the last poem in your syllabus. I hope you have understood who is the author, poetic devices, what is the message and the conclusion, theme and the title, what is the tone of the poem, what are the questions that you can expect, and what is a summary, the line-to-line explanation. Remember, women need to be treated equally. I repeat, women need to be treated equally. Please understand that and keep it in your mind. See you in my next session. Even tries a O level. Until then, all smiles to you. Bye-bye.